even better than the Philadelphia Eagles. The last team to lose on the season. That was last week. They bounced back, although it looked like that might not happen. They were down 10 in the fourth quarter. It is the first win for the Eagles since 2010 when they were trailing by 10 or more points entering the fourth quarter. So not a whole lot of comeback wins for the Eagles in the last decade. Jalen Hurts put the game on his legs. He had 86 yards rushing, his most since week 1, 49 of those in the fourth quarter, was big at the end, converted the fourth down, and then ran into the end zone. So it wasn't pretty, but I don't know. In a season with, 17 games,
you're going to have something like this. Exactly right. You're right. And it's a Colts team that's kind of re-energized and found a new way to play. And I think we saw that again, where you got to give Jeff Saturday, some respect there. They're still fighting there in Indianapolis, and they're playing the proper way to what their team is. I think, again, we saw another game with Matt Ryan. They got the ball out of his hands quickly for the most part of the day. They stayed patient with the run game. I saw basically the same 2 or 3 runs that I talked about last week on the podcast, where I said I feel like that's what Jeff Saturday did. He simplified things, just said, wait, we're good at these ones. Let's just keep doing them. I felt like I saw that again last night. It was there. It was there to be had. The Colts messed up some situations. Jonathan Taylor fumbling as the pockets get, as the pile's being pushed and all that. That was a big moment in the football game. But yeah, that's playing the Eagles right now. The Eagles have gotten to that point where they're good enough to turn the ball over maybe 1 or 2 times and still be like, no, we're still going to win this game. Mm-hmm. That's where they're special. And then if you do turn the ball over, then it's like, well, they're that good. You're in trouble now. But yeah, this was a dogfight. And I think you said it right. They found something just at the end of the game because their O-line could not dominate the Colts. And as we've been saying here on the podcast for the last few weeks, the Colts defense is phenomenal. It's phenomenal. It went into the game yesterday as a top 5 defense, and like I've been trying to say, that offense has been so bad, and they're still a top 5 defense. That tells you. That was the biggest thing to me. 8 people at the line of scrimmage because of that Seattle scheme. They couldn't overpower them in the run game. Because there's 8 people at the line of scrimmage so often, too, it's hard to come off the edge on the read option at times and be free because there's always the extra guy there. And then they play a defense where they don't let you have big plays. It's press bail. It's cover 3, press bail. Jam them at the line of scrimmage, then just get back and don't let them go deep. So those were some issues for the Eagles. But the quarterback design run at an empty and him just scrambling on a few plays were the difference in the football game. And, yeah, it wasn't pretty. I'm not downgrading the Eagles by any stretch of the imagination. They played, I think, again, like we were just talking about with the Chargers, 2 teams that I think match up well with them in a lot of ways. And 2 defenses that have some elite things about them that canceled out some of the eliteness of what the Eagles usually can do to people.
Sure.
And I think that's kind of how I assess that game.
Yeah, it was tough for them on the ground. You had Jalen Hurts with the 86 yards, but Miles Sanders, 13 carries, 47
Traditional
yards.
Run game was not there, right?
Not working through the air. I mean, Jalen Hurts only threw for 190 yards, so everything was very difficult offensively. And it looked like maybe the Colts, and we talked about this going into the game, they might be able to run the ball on this team. Jonathan Taylor, that first opening drive, 7 carries, 49 yards, and a touchdown. And then after that, 15 carries, just 35 yards in the final 10 drives. And so how much credit do we have to give to the newcomers for the Eagles here in Ndamukong Suh, Linval Joseph? They combined for 7 tackles.
Certainly saw him around the ball a lot.
Couple quarterback hits. And here was the big thing. They played 43 snaps.
Right.
So they did play a little bit, and that probably will go up as the weeks go on.
Yeah. No.
How much does that change their team?
Well, it just gives them more fresh bodies, depth, some versatility to change. Those are 2 big guys who understand, like, again, they can 2-gap both of them, which I think is very important in this day and age of the running quarterback and some of the teams you have to play. We talk about it so much, these quarterbacks and what they can do. It's like, oh, wait, they fake the ball this way, 2 guys pull the other way, and you're like, well, you're a guy short here in this gap now over here. And that's where the big D tackles like them can come into handy because they go, wait, I got 2 gaps. So now we have an extra gap for this guy out here, and now that play doesn't gash us as much. Yeah. So that's where they add a little value along with some depth. But also too, you don't
sound like you think it'll totally.
I don't think it's going to totally fix
difference.
them. I don't look at it and go, oh man, this did it. Yeah. They got it now. To me, the run game started off strong. Hey, we see this every game, a lot of games, right? Defenses, it's a first 15. The defense is kind of figuring out like how they're attacking us and getting a feel for the strength and what they need to do for guys blocking them and all that. I think the other thing that just came to, at least to my mind as the game went on, is just I feel like Philly got pretty aggressive as far as just going, wait, they don't have anybody that really scares us. Their downfield passing game, like we've talked about, doesn't really scare us. And I feel like that allowed them to play some aggressive coverages and some aggressive fronts to kind of slow down that run game as it went on.
Nick Sirianni was all fired up after the game. Of course, spent some time there coaching with the Colts.
I love this.
Here.
I love Sirianni for this right here.
Coach under Frank Reich.
Right.
Was the OC with Frank Reich.
Right.
And got his big break with the Eagles after that. So he was asked about Frank Reich, talked about him after this game, and I think we have the soundbite there. Kristen, this is what Sirianni had to say.
I'm emotional because I love Frank Reich. I really do, and he's one of the best damn football coaches I've ever been around. So, I was hoping that him and I would be able to coach against each other in this game. But he's one of my biggest mentors. I got my dad, I got Larry Karras, and I got Frank Reich. And Frank's such a good football coach. And you don't want to know what I think of if he should be here or not, but because you guys can probably imagine what I really think.
Dang.
Yeah, I love it. Sticking up for his guy. And again, we didn't get to discuss this a lot because you were on the beach putting suntan lotion on your wife. But either way, I don't think Frank Reich should have been fired. I'm one of those guys. I'm with him. I don't think it justified it. And the ugliness of the year, like we talked about, was forced on him by the benching of Matt Ryan. So that's where I just feel for him that way. I do, but that was a good win for the Eagles. That was. I don't care. People don't look at the record, whatever. The Colts match up. Again, this is a matchup league, and with that defense of Indianapolis and the scheme, that's the thing to watch for here. This is the time of year where codes get cracked a little bit, and teams start. It's a copycat league, right? You always hear that. So I think that's one thing to watch here going forward is, usually when it's a great team like Philadelphia, we saw this with Kansas City a few years ago, once one team can kind of lay out a blueprint a little bit of at least how to slow them down, now the next team goes, oh, they did that. Oh, okay, I like that. I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna do that. Oh, and I got my own little thing I think that's gonna help here. And then the next team comes along and they go, oh, wait, okay, Washington did that. The Colts did that. Okay, wait, we can kind of combine that and do that. And it starts to give people an idea of like, all right, now we know how to defend these guys a little bit. So we'll see if that goes on going forward here. But, two really good defensive lines are the two things that are in common, slowing down the Eagles. I don't think there's a lot of teams that have the personnel that are going to do this to Philadelphia that often.
And if you're rooting for chaos and Jeff Saturday to get that main head coaching gig, get that interim tag
amazing,
out of there,
right?
It wasn't hurt by this game.
No, it definitely
almost
wasn't.
Won it.
100%.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.